how long it'll last. Well, I told you I will follow, I'll never take it back. I hang on every word you ever say, for I know you're faithful, and I'm still waiting on a wealth of promises. But I know you're able, so if ever I stray, if ever I fall, won't you call me homeward? Won't you call me homeward? I asked you more than once to hurry up the pace, but what and where you want me is exactly where I am. 'Cause what I learned from waiting is waiting never lasts. You didn't bring me this far just to bring me back. No, you're too good for that. I hang on every word you ever said, for I know you're faithful, and I'm still waiting on a wealth of promises. But I know you're able, so if ever I stray, if ever I fall, won't you call me homeward? Won't you call me homeward? Call me homeward. Sometimes I feel like I know, but faith's more than feeling. It's like seeing the invisible. Somehow I see it. All the lies at the end of the road, and I don't know the timing, so I'm guessing it's not mine to know. Help me believe it. On those days when I feel like I don't, our faith isn't feeling. It's just trusting when you feel the most. And someday I'll see it, reach the house at the end of the road. That road leave me lonely. I know I am never alone. I am never
different this morning. We have been prepping all week for our Christmas Eve candlelight services, and I cannot wait to show you what is behind these curtains. I was telling Laura the other day, I feel like we wrapped a present for you guys because it's unbelievable, and I can't wait for Christmas by the Creek, Christmas Eve services. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
So we're going to be playing all 7 songs from our Christmas album on the night, and then it's going to be this, as always, just the beautiful candlelight service afterwards. And if you haven't been to one, it's just absolutely magical, and I know it is a tradition in so many people's lives to come to this services. So I really, really encourage you to come out. It's going to be amazing. We're having 4 services on that day. So if you have the time and are able to make it, it's only a 45-minute service. So I encourage you to do it. So we're going to be playing a couple more songs, and we really want to hear your voices. That's the whole point of these more stripped down sets, is to hear your voices. So I encourage you to sing loud with everything you have, and just take this intimate moment with just center yourself and to just focus on Christ and focus on the music and focus on the words that you're saying and make these your prayer. So let's keep going.
Standing next to me. trillion stars with hidden worlds spinning in the vastness you design. The rolling seas, a masterpiece, dancing to the thoughts within your mind. There is no one like you, none beside you. surrounding me, let it break. At your name, still, call the sea to still, the rage in me to still, every wave. At your name, Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Breathe, call these bones to live, call these lungs to sing once again. I will praise Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, oh Jesus, 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 you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Oh Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, yeah. 'Cause your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. And your name cannot be overcome. And your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, oh, no, 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 no. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. And your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. 'Cause your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Oh, your name cannot be overcome. Your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. And Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Oh Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. isn't adding up. This wild exchange you offer us. I gave my worst, you gave your love. Seems hard to believe. You're telling me you chose the cross. You're telling me I'm worth that much. But if that's the measure of your love, how else would I sing? But completely, deeply, sold out, sincerely abandoned. I'm completely, freely, heads to the ceiling, enamored. Oh, my one life endeavor to match your surrender, to mirror now, I will be yours. I'm completely, deeply, don't care who sees me abandoned. Oh, I surrender all. And I just can't get over it. What kind of self-control is this? When you had angels at your fingertips, but on the cross you remain. And I can't display the kind of love, but I can praise with everything I've got. Since death had all of its power on, and just like a grave, I'm completely, deeply, sold out, sincerely abandoned. I'm completely, freely, heads to the ceiling, enamored. Oh, my one life endeavor to match your surrender, to mirror not my will be yours. I'm completely, deeply, don't care who sees me abandoned. Oh, I surrender all, and I surrender all, and I surrender all. The whole of my heart, the best of my soul, each phase of my life, each breath in my lungs, consider it yours, Lord. Consider it yours, Lord. The failures I hide, the victories I don't, the battles I fight, each crown that I hoard, consider it yours, Lord. Consider it yours, Lord. All the glory forever, the grave that you won, the praise of the heavens, the kingdom to come. Consider it yours, Lord. Consider it yours. I'm completely, deeply, sold out, sincerely abandoned. Oh, I'm completely, freely, heads to the ceiling, enamored. Oh, my one life endeavor to match your surrender, to mirror not my will be yours. I'm completely, deeply, don't care who sees me abandoned. Oh, I surrender all. I surrender all, and I surrender. Thank y'all so much for singing. You all sounded so good this morning. Thank you.
morning. Morning. It's good to see you today. Thank you so much. Let's start with the warm greeting. Merry Christmas. How about that? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, you know, some places they don't want you to say Merry Christmas. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is, just have joy in your life. Do you have to say exactly the right words to have joy in your life? Probably not. So we say a lot of words around here. Some of them we can't say up front. Because what words would that be? Like anger, frustration, or do you know that, let's talk about Brett. Sorry, he's sitting right here. He's just the first one on my mind. So, but anyways, lots of good things are happening. It's a joy to be here. Do you know this is Florida? Today I walked in, I thought, it is so cold, and some people have told me from Michigan and also Pennsylvania, this is 50 degrees warmer than wherever they are. And they said, be grateful for what you have. And I sort of like it, don't you? Mm-hmm. I mean, I like a breath of fresh air, and it's wonderful. I know last week we had summer and winter twice in the same week. And I like for it to just stay a little cool for a while because we get plenty of warm weather all year long. But this is as cold as I like. I don't want to be too cold. So I'm very picky.
That's right.
I like it that way. So Merry Christmas, everybody. We're going to talk to you today about what's happening this week. Tuesday is Christmas Eve, and we're having services at 1:30, 3 o'clock, 4:30, and 6. Pick one. 1:30, 3 o'clock, 4:30, and 6. It's in your notes right in your hand. And you'll see this card that talks about what we're going to be. It's Christmas by the Creek. You see that? You have it in your hand, and it shows the services on there as well. And but these are important. Our band has put together, as you know, several songs, Christmas carols. They've rewritten the songs. You know, they're not copyright protected because they're so old, so you can rearrange them, and they've rearranged them. And it's not just totally bluegrass. There's a little bit, there's a Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, there's just a lot of big music in here. Yep. A lot of work went into this. You will love it. I've been listening to it. Just the words that you know with a little different twist to the tune. And I think it's something designed. You can get it on Apple. You get it on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, all those things. Yep. It's a great thing. So that's what's happening on Christmas Eve. It'll be a full house. It's about 45-minute service. It's really not an hour, 45 minutes. It's about half hour music, and 15 minutes, I tell a story, we light candles. So if you like this candle lighting, it is a special service, one of our favorites of the year. And we'll have thousands of people here for that day. So come early, get a seat. And a little note, when you come in, it starts and it's only 45 minutes. Don't linger in the Grand Hall. If I'm out there, say, I can't talk to you, Pastor, you told me to get in.
That's right.
Fair enough. So come in. You don't want to miss the music. You don't want to miss any of it. It goes so quickly, and you'll enjoy that on Christmas Eve. And nothing on Christmas Day. If you come Christmas Day, you're going to be lonely.
That's right.
So what's happening next Sunday?
If you come next Sunday, you'll be lonely because we have Take a Break Sunday. So that'll be December 30th. There is no service next Sunday. It's all online. So you go to suncoastcommunity.com. You're going to see our New Year's devotional with Dr. Baucom, as well as the music. Well, the band will do some special selections for New Year. We don't return here until January 5th.
And what happens on January 5th?
January 5th, Dr. Baucom and I are kicking off a new, exciting series called Incompatible. Incompatible. And I think it's going to be a game-changing 4-week series. Tell us about what's the idea behind it.
You know, some things that we're taught, that I was taught as a kid, are incompatible. At some point, I get older and I go, well, that's not really true. I remember going to college and realizing that some of the stuff I'd learned in Sunday school was different than what my college professors were teaching me. And that was the first. Then I went on after years of that, and 4 years of graduate school, and then 7 years in PhD program. You begin to go, a lot of the things that I was taught are not necessarily true, but we keep repeating something, and you can repeat it 100 times, it doesn't make it true. So we try to go back to the original languages. We're discovering things that I think are setting people free, under a better understanding of God for the future. I'm disturbed because Christianity in our country is going downhill. Churches are closing every year, according to Pew Research. It's not a good time, but we're on the front edge, a wave of a new understanding of Christianity that's more logical, it's more understanding, and it's full of God and the Spirit of God in your life. It's a healthier type of Christianity. I wish I'd had this when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
But now that we have it, we want to share it because it is a better way to live. And we think that we're going to change some of the game for Christianity in our country. But incompatible, a lot of the stuff we learned at one point is incompatible with reason,
with science, and what we understand.
culture, exactly.
Absolutely.
Also incompatible with Troy
That's right.
and Larry,
And
as far
Larry.
as it goes.
It's awesome.
So what are we talking about today?
So today, we've been in a 3-week series. This is week number 3. We're calling it Christmas Wonders. And all we've done is we've taken this prophetic utterance from Isaiah, who was an Old Testament prophet. He lived about 700 years before Jesus. And yet he gives this prophecy. The word prophet literally translates prophasis, which means to speak before. And Isaiah lays out this idea of what the Messiah, the coming Messiah, will do. The characteristics, the attributes for the Jewish people to look for. And this is what he says. He says, "For unto us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor." That was week number 1. Mighty God. Last week we talked about Everlasting Father, and today we get to talk about the Prince of Peace. But week number 1, Dr. Baucom taught Wonderful Counselor. He is a counselor to our souls. He's a counselor to our lives. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that wonderful counselor, at least we have someone who will whisper to us and whisper to us direction. We have a counselor that sees who we are and how we need to respond, and it's a more healthy way to have a God-driven life. It's not somebody that's in a psychiatrist department, but it's somebody that the presence of God that lives in us that helps us be healthy psychologically, mentally. It's about having your own personal advisor keeping you on the right track.
Absolutely. And if you're here last week, Dr. Baucom and I talked about this notion of everlasting Father. Now, I want to say from the outset, the word father, especially in a modern culture, gets sort of, we think of it in terms of like a gender, some sort of gender identity. This is metaphorical. It is not about gender empowerment. It's about intimate relationship. That's what Isaiah was trying to convey, is that God is like our father or even like our mother. However, that intimate relationship that you have in your life, which is meaningful, significant, purposeful, that's what God is in our life. And today, we get to look at the Prince of Peace. What is this? We hear this all the time around this, peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Why is that the message of Christmas every year?
I think we use it because it was Isaiah saw as one that we need. You know, they live in worlds of chaos. They live in worlds of confusion, and they're looking for something more, something hopeful, something where maybe not every day is full of just crisis, repeated crisis. And for some people, they live in the crisis, but there's something more for that, the shalom that comes with the peace of God.
The peace of God. And this brings us, if you're taking notes, here's point number 1 if you want to write these down. Point number 1, Christmas is this reminder that the Prince of Peace was born in a manger. The early Christian writer saw Jesus as the one prophesied about through the Old Testament prophets. And one of the repeated themes that we see about not only Christmas time, but one of the repeated themes within the Bible is this notion that out of humble beginnings, great things can arise. Out of humble beginnings. Jesus is born in a manger, a humble beginning. But there were other people who shared a very similar humble beginning that rose to great power in service to God.
Yeah, we can start with Abraham. We go to Moses. Moses was raised, he was an Israeli Hebrew baby, and he was threatened by the Pharaoh to kill him off, so they hid Moses in the bulrushes in the Nile River. Pharaoh's daughter found him, took him and raised him in Pharaoh's home, but he still was a very humble beginnings. And later he was the one who led them out of bondage into freedom. Moses is a very significant person. One of the most significant in the Old Testament is Moses, started with humble beginnings. And then we go to the Ruth. Most people don't know much about the book of Ruth. I mean, it's about a woman, and there's not many books in the Bible written about women. But let me tell you, it's an important book to be read.
Absolutely. And
the importance of Ruth, it talks about her humble beginnings. She's married to a guy, and he dies. And the mother-in-law is there to say, go find yourself another husband. She said, no, I'm going to stay with you. But she stays with her mother-in-law, Naomi. And the point of Ruth is she stays and she's faithful. Finally, she meets a guy by the name of Boaz. They marry, and they have a child together. And the child, his name is Obed. And Obed is the father of Jesse, who's the father of David. So the whole book of Ruth is saying something insignificant as somebody like this Hebrew girl is really the great-grandmother of the greatest king of all times. And that's significant. So show the continuity of history, how that God's been faithful to his people all through the generations, even down to this. So she started with humble beginnings, but she really was important, or we wouldn't have King David.
That's absolutely.
And what about King David?
Yeah, King David, the son of Jesse, was the youngest, the smallest, the insignificant, the most insignificant of all of Jesse's children. He was a shepherd boy. But yet he was overlooked by the prophet Samuel because he didn't have the size or that characteristic that people would look for in royalty, in a king. But yet God, using this notion, this theme of humble beginnings, can give rise to great prominence. And then Jesus is in the line of David, and Jesus himself, as we celebrate this Christmas season, humble beginnings, born in a manger. What is the manger? We often have this idea of the nativity scenes that we see for sale or in people's yards, but it's the wrong concept.
Well, it's our concept. We usually have walls and a roof like this. You have it?
Right.
I've got some that are ceramic, some that are made out of little pillow-type material for the kids to play with. I got some that are little people that, they put them in there. They're little, and we got all these manger scenes, but when I've been to Israel a half dozen times, we go to the shepherd's fields, and we go to the place where they think where Jesus was born, and you go to these, and it's really a hillside with lots of caves. And the caves are probably where they put the sheep at night. Mm-hmm. So our image of Jesus being born in a little building structure made out of wood with a roof on it is probably not accurate, but having him born in a cave in a protected hillside is probably more accurate. But the point is, he was born, there was no room in the inn. He wasn't born in the palace. He wasn't even born in a house. He was born in a place that really was protection during a storm for animals, and that's very humble beginnings. So, out of humble beginnings, God can do great things.
Absolutely.
Tell me about your beginnings. How did you start?
Oh, man.
I mean, Louisiana boy.
I'm a Louisiana boy, South Louisiana, a little town called Opelousas, Louisiana. And it's funny, right after service here, I walked out into the grand hall, and this older gentleman came up to me, and he says, "What part of Louisiana are you from?" I said, "I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana." He goes, and with this thick Cajun accent, I'm gonna try to copy it. He goes, "Man, I'm from Ville Platte, me." And I went, "No way." He goes, "My name is Chuck Artigo." I went, "My mom's last name was Artigo." And he's like, "I bet you we related." Unbelievable. Somewhere down the line, I was born in a town of maybe 19,000 people, and I have a picture, well, my mom has a picture, of me as like a 3-year-old kid outside of our home. And it was on Evergreen Lane in Opelousas. It was a 1-bedroom project home where I lived with my mom and dad, his mom and dad, my grandparents, and his sister, my Aunt Priscilla. There were 7 of us in a 1-bedroom home. Humble beginnings, but yet I went to college, studied. I only graduated, I think I was 23rd in my graduating, a small class of 50. I was 23rd out of 50. And I go back home, and some of my friends are like, "You got a PhD?" And I said, "Hard to believe, huh?" And they're like, "Man, I remember you. You were kind of good at basketball, not really good looking, not very popular. Your hair was receding senior year already." But humble beginnings, and now I look, and it's not braggadocious, but I'm very, very proud to see where I came from. And every time I go back to Louisiana to visit, I drive down Evergreen Lane, and I go past. That housing structure is still there to this day. And it serves as a reminder of what God has brought me from and brought me into, and I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, and unlike Troy, I grew up in the city. I'm a city boy. In Nashville, literally born in the city limits of Nashville. I have 8 brothers and sisters, 9 kids, a mom and dad, all living in a 2-bedroom, 1 outhouse in the city. And you go, "How was that?" I go, "Poor." Mm-hmm. But I asked my mother about her life, and she lived in Nashville too. When she was a girl at about 10 years old, her job was to sweep the floor, dirt floor. That's in the city. So humble beginnings. But let me tell you about humble beginnings. We didn't know how humble we were. We didn't know we were poor.
That's right.
We had parents who loved us, siblings who fought us. I mean, we grew up with, I remember my brother 6 years older walked by one day and he just thumped me on the arm for no reason. I mean, just hit me and I go, why'd you do that? I'm your brother. And I remember walking by my little brother 6 years younger than me and thumping him. And he goes, what's that for? I said, what goes around comes around.
That's right.
I mean, I'm your brother. I got to share with you what was shared with me. And it's dysfunctional. We put the fun in it. But, out of poor, humble beginnings. And today, I'm very delighted. My kids did not grow up in those humble beginnings. They grew up in, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a 2-car garage. Does that make them any better? No, but we want for our kids better than we had, right?
That's right.
But we also want for them at least to have the love that we felt in our home. That love is what makes it. It's not how many bedrooms.
That's right.
Or whether it's a wood floor or a dirt floor. What matters is the love that's there. But out of humble beginnings, God can use us to do amazing things. And I'm privileged to say today, I'm part of a community that I love. You guys make my life. People thank me every day, but I want to thank you today because over the last week, we've been able to help dozens of families because of the gift cards that you gave. Dozens of families. As a matter of fact, you gave so much that one family did not have a car and they were taking the bus. And we're able to buy a car and provide for that family this year at Christmas time.
Wow.
And I want to let you know you did that,
right.
and I want to thank you for that. I'm grateful to be a part of this community. Out of humble beginnings, we started 26 years ago, just a handful of us. But great things are coming out of that because we put the Spirit of Christ first, Spirit of community. We want to be God to the world, and you're doing that so well. I just want to brag on you just a minute. It is our joy to be a part of this whole thing. So what about your parents? I'd love to hear your story sometime, where your humble beginnings were. Because some of you would say, oh, you had a dirt floor. We didn't have a floor at all. Yeah, or you had that. We walked up to school. We walked uphill to school in the snow. No shoes. You know how that is. The stories get pretty strong. But I sometimes say those stories that are not true to my kids just so you just have it so good. You don't realize how rough we had it.
That's right.
But when we look back, it wasn't rough. We just realized we had everything we needed. And I think back of the time of Jesus and even David, all the great people of the Old Testament and the New Testament, they started out humbly, but what changed their life was the presence of God is a game changer.
That's right.
And it's a game changer for us, and I know it's a game changer for you. So let's look at number 2.
Point number 2. Christmas is a reminder that the Prince of Peace came to heal the broken pieces in our lives.
So today, I brought an ornament for you to see, a nice gift. Look at this. Oh, isn't that pretty? This reminds me of my life. I'm just handsome, wonderful, well-rounded.
Wears glitter every now and then.
Yeah, so true. But let me show you what happens in every life. If that's your life or that's my life, let me show you what reality is. It goes in a bag like this, and you shut the bag like this, and you lay it down like this. This is what most of our lives have been through, right? I would love to tell you that my life is perfect in every way, that, it's nice when it looks like an orb, but Jesus, as the Prince of Peace, comes to us, and he becomes the Prince of Pieces. And he helps us to understand that sometimes things happen, and sometimes life's not what it should be, but we don't have to go through this alone. I mean, why does Isaiah write these words to us? I mean, Prince of Peace. Why does he say these words? What's important?
Yeah, the context always determines meaning. And when you look at Isaiah's prophecy, what we find is the nation of Israel was a devastated nation. They were a nation that needed hope. And I hear stories in the Grand Hall all the time. Dr. Baucom and I, Pastor Brett and I, we always hear these stories of people who have someone who's had a heart attack in their life. They've got news of terminal cancer. Maybe a loved one in their life has been sentenced to years in prison. Maybe they're going through a messy divorce and they say, well, he or she took everything from me, left me with nothing. Some people are battling depression, can't get out of bed in the morning. Maybe the pain you feel is so just paralyzed and you just want to stay in bed and not even face the world. It's the same thing for Israel, is that these powerful empires were at their borders trying to conquer them. And what did they do? They did what any nation would do. They looked to the king. And they said, help us, lead us, guide us. But yet the king had turned away from his faithfulness in God and started worshiping pagan idols. And with all that going on, all they long for is maybe what you're longing for today, as your life might be in shambles or broken in pieces, and you're looking for somebody, God, just come glue this back together. God, come put this back together just the way it's supposed to be. I don't want to see any cracks. I don't want to see any broken pieces. I don't want any missing pieces. I think we can relate to that in some way. They cried out, bring us peace. They're still looking for hope, and so are we. Because here's the truth, is that not much is different. Humanity has been humanity, whether it's 2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago or 4 years ago. We are people who long for peace in our life. And I love what you just said. Christ is not only the Prince of Peace, he's the Prince of the broken pieces as well.
In the last 2 weeks, I've heard all these things. Heart attack, terminal cancer, just in 2 weeks. Years in prison. He or she took everything. Heard it this week. Deep depression, I can't get out of bed. We just went through those. I have chronic pain. And you go, but I want you to see my life as this beautiful orb. Mm-hmm. Everything's good, I look good, but I want you to know that is not who you are. What defines you is not this perfect orb. What defines you is the presence of God in your life, whether you're broken or shattered or not. And I don't know anyone who's lived their life who has been cracked or broken in some way.
Yeah.
I have been.
Yep.
I mean, I've lost loved ones. I've gone through difficulties. I've had surgeries. All the things come up. But I want you to know that I don't have to go through that alone. Mm-hmm. The Prince of Peace can come to us. I talked to someone today who says, oh, my financial ventures have just got me a place where I just stress, huge stress. He said, but I'm in a place now, something has just happened. All of a sudden, I'm negotiating my spiritual life into my financial life, and I'm beginning to discover peace in the midst of it all. It's that peace that makes a difference. And that's what we want to share with you today. Jesus came to represent peace to humanity.
That's right.
And the pieces. And what did he say in John?
This is what he says. John 14, Jesus says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. But I don't give it to you the way the world gives it. And you should not expect to receive it in a way that the world receives or expects peace. And he says, don't let your hearts be troubled. Don't be afraid. I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. Because here's a promise from God. We love the big promises from God. Oh, healing and restoration and all these things. But listen to what Jesus says. You will have trouble in this world. That's a promise. It's not a very good promise, but it is a promise. You will have trouble in this world, but take heart. I have overcome this world. So what is Jesus saying? He's saying, yes, I bring peace. I can give you peace. But it's not a type of peace that says, hey, everything is going to happen and work out exactly the way you want it, exactly the way you expect it. There is a peace that is going to surpass not only your understanding, but your expectation. And that's where we find God writing his name on each little shard of brokenness in our life. And we have to look for it. Seek and you will find God as the Prince of the Pieces. I remember playing, my children are in town, so I'm excited. I remember when I play hide and seek with my kids. You guys ever remember playing hide and seek? These kids have this sort of mental, cognitive, psychological phenomena. If they can't see you, then obviously you can't see them, right? They can hide behind a pole this big and they hide their eyes and you see their whole outline of their body. I remember one time I was playing with Asher and he was underneath the covers in my bed and there's this huge lump in the middle of my bed shaking and laughing underneath those covers as I'm going, Asher, where are you? Where are you? And I pull back the covers and there he is. And that's the thing about God. God, from the smallest shard to the biggest piece that's broken in our life, if we seek, we're gonna find that he has his thumbprint on all the broken spaces and places of our life. And that's the promise we have. You will have trouble, but I will be there with you in the midst of the chaos. You will have peace while you have trouble. You will have peace while going through that trouble. So take heart, because we overcome the world too. We overcome the chaos through God's peace that is always within us. It's something we don't accept and believe. It's something we awaken to, and we become the people that God has created us to be.
And I think it's interesting that sometimes we define ourselves by these, this orb. And I, at some point in our life, we begin to realize this really is not who I am. Who I am is so much more. I talked to someone who has terminal cancer just recently, and they were telling me, he said, I'm going through the suffering and heartache, but it's okay. I'm learning through the suffering. And we weren't made to live without a trouble-free existence. All of us will have troubles in some, but if this orb defines who you are, it's how you look, maybe the car you drive, the clothes you wear, then that's not who you are. Who you are is this life essence within this. So you can say this has crumbled, but there's still something. I wish I had a hologram that would hover here and just show all the energy that's still there, the energy that is truly me, and it's the presence of God within me.
That's right.
That really is who I really am, not what the shell is that's broken away. And sometimes the more we grow, the more we understand it's God with us. And when the outer crumbles, the inner becomes stronger.
That's right.
And we begin to have more resilient, and we begin to see the presence of Christ in my life every day.
That's right.
So whatever the broken pieces, my mind is not set on the pieces. It's set on God.
That's right.
And that's different.
Listen to what Isaiah says just a few verses earlier. He says, you will keep, speaking of God, keep him in perfect peace, those whose minds are steadfast and focused on you because they trust in you. He promises perfect peace. Now, perfect peace isn't this don't worry, be happy reggae song, sitting on Longboat Key with a pina colada, watching the sunset, even though it's
not a bad idea.
It's bad to the bone. It's not this always it's going to be fine, because let me just be honest. I love Dr. Baucom's leadership in my life because he doesn't cut corners and he doesn't sugarcoat things. Perfect peace does not mean you're going to survive that cancer diagnosis. Doesn't mean your relationship is going to be okay. It doesn't mean your children are going to turn out okay and everything's going to be fine if I just helicopter parent enough, or that it's all going to work out the way you envision it or want it. That's not perfect peace. Whatever the broken pieces, my mind has to be set on God, because if you do not have that wherewithal and that awakening to the truth that God is always already present within you, you have to have it, because there will be trouble. And it's in the times of trouble you got to say and fall on your knees and say, God, you either got to get me out of this or you got to get me through this. Right. But either way, I'm trusting you in this process of brokenness and chaos. Because if we don't have that, what do we have? We're left with a life of shambles.
Right.
He's not only the Prince of Peace, he's the Prince of the broken pieces.
Absolutely. Which leads to the third truth.
Here's the final point for you guys. Christmas is a reminder that the Prince of Peace comes to the hearts of those that trust in him.
Yeah, it's about trusting God.
Yeah.
No matter what. It's about trusting God in the middle of chaos. It's trusting God saying, my health is not good. Just trusting God saying, I really don't know what the financial markets are going to hold for my future in retirement. It's trusting God saying, I really don't know about these other areas, but I'm going to trust God to walk with me every day of my life. My life is intertwined with him, and that is the spiritual energy that is healing for us and gets us through, that makes a huge difference in our life.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
So, anyway, so if you'd pray for us, and I'll share closing at the end.
Let's say a prayer, guys. Awesome and wonderful God, it's in moments like these that you touch our heart, that a simple illustration of a broken ornament can resonate so deep in our own lives, in the broken places and spaces we may have. But God, it's in these moments that you touch us and you remind us that I am here with and in you. So God, let us wake up to that truth today. Let us walk in that truth and trust today that you are with us, even in the broken places and spaces. It's in the strong name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Would you stand, please? I want to tell you a story in closing. And as I do remind you, Christmas Eve, 4 services beginning at 1:30. and they're about 45 minutes, and no service the last week of the year, so next Sunday. So here's a story, old story. I've told it before, but not in a long time. But on Christmas of 1864, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote this poem that was later put to music, and he named it "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day," 1864. 1861 was when the Civil War was raging in our country. And that was in April it started, and by July, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's wife was lighting some candles because they didn't have electricity, and the wax dripped down and the flame caught her dress on fire. And as she ran from one room to the other to get her husband to help her, by the time he got her to stop running and put the fire out, she was so badly damaged and burned that she passed away the next day. That was 1861. 1864, he got a notice that his son, who'd been serving in the military in the Civil War, had been critically wounded, and he didn't know if he was going to survive. It's Christmas Day, 1864, and he's in his study, and he hears the bells ringing from the church, and he writes these words: "I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar's carol play, and wild and sweet the words repeat, of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And thought now as this day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men." What he's really saying is, this has been going on for a long time. And in despair, overwhelmed through the process, he said, "I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth," I said. "For hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men." And then as he reflects a little and he hears the bells still going, he says, "Then peal the bells more loud and deep." And he begins to realize God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. And listen to the transformation. Till ringing and singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day. A voice, a chime, a chant sublime, of peace on earth, goodwill to men. What a transformation on Christmas. And that's ours to be had. If you listen this season, you'll find the Prince of Peace. And listen to what Jesus said. "These words I've spoken to you, that in me you will have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." He loves you today, and so do we. God bless you. Thanks for coming.
I'm riding